focusing on the victories too is really important, and sometimes the victory is just not eating the Oreos.
If you just bounce from project to project to project, you never take anything deep.
When we focus on what we have, we get more. And when we focus on what we don't have, we never have enough.
Our week's theme this week, Jamie, has been how to increase focus and discipline and drive, especially when it's hard. What's something that you have found as you've been launching Believe It that helped you with the focus, because it's so much work?
It's so much work. I mean, for me, I always try to bring it back to why am I doing what I'm doing, right? Like the bigger thing that's not about me. Also, you and I are both, and by the way, most everyone on this morning show with us live, I think you coined this phrase. What did you say? Personal growth, personal development, personal growth, dorks, or personal, like geeking out on personal development. I've gotten so many messages about that. People are like, I'm a personal growth. I love to geek out on that stuff too. And I, have loved this stuff my whole life. So I do it for myself and my downtime. I love it. And on the topic of focus, this morning, all alone in my hotel room, it's day 17. I've been in this hotel room doing the event, because I came out a week early to prep for the event, and then the book launch stuff. And so I was in here reading actually quotes this morning about focus. And one of them that I read, just going to share with everybody. I just thought it was so powerful, right? Because I just had this big thing happen. Getting the New York Times bestseller list. So just to give I guess, Brendon, let me just go there, because you and I just kind of peel back the curtain and let everyone in on this GrowthDay morning show. And so what happened last night was I got this big phone call, and then it turned into a Zoom, and all of the people from the publisher and Simon & Schuster, and everyone was on this big Zoom cheersing. Everyone's excited. And then right away comes up talk about book number 2. And right, I know. And then I won't even say who called me. Okay, how do I not get in trouble? Okay, a couple of people then called me after, and they're like, and then the next book, and I'm just like, whoa. And I just want to bring this up for a reason, because I always talk about our own growth and our own growth journey. I am making the decision right now to focus on not doing this to myself again, meaning, so many times, right? So many times we have a win in the day, and maybe that win is that we went on our morning walk. Maybe that win is that, but then it's so easy for our own selves or other people to be like, well, what about this, or what's next, or what, right? And I did that to myself for a decade. Like in the decade of building my company, for so many years, we had no success and no money and no traction. But when we finally started getting it, and we finally started getting big wins and all these things, and, the beauty industry that always discounted me, all of a sudden was giving me all these awards, and all this stuff was happening. And I never stopped to appreciate it and feel it and celebrate it. It was always like, oh, but what about this? And what about that? And I just think that it applies to our lives every single day when it comes to focus, is that it's so easy and other people will do this to us, right? They'll say, oh, but what's next? And, oh, you got that? Well, what about that? Right? And then all of a sudden, before we know it, we're not even able to feel the day. We're just thinking about the things that, we can still keep going for, or that help other people more, whatever it is. And we end up feeling not enough where we're at with what we have. And I just think that focusing on the victories too is really important, and sometimes the victory is just not eating the Oreos. You know what I mean? Like that's a victory. Like picking up the berries when you don't want them. Like if you're blessed enough to have berries, and then being like, wow, I'm blessed to have berries, right? Like that's a victory. But how many times are we just like we're there's so much going on that we end up focusing on what we don't have. And I just had this, you and I both, I think, are really sharing with everyone in connection and community on this show, not just the things we've learned and the things we teach and the things we coach others on. Like I've had the blessing of mentoring now so many entrepreneurs and so many women. And yeah, we teach all those things too, but also what I love is we really we really go there and in addition to teaching stuff, we really go there and share what's actually going on in our own lives. And I just want to share that with everyone in the community today, because maybe somebody needs to hear this too. Is last night I had a moment of, oh wait, everyone else has already moved on. And like, they're like, okay, what's next? Book number 2. I'm like, whoa, like I'm intentionally deciding right now, I'm not doing a book number 2 at this moment. I'm intentionally deciding, how can I inspire and impact and be in this moment and connect with real human beings who need the stories in this book, who need hope and inspiration? How can I show up and serve right now and be grateful where I'm at and feel the moment? And so it was a big moment of realization about focus last night. And I just want to share that because I think I've failed to do that for a number of years. And
always that next thing, chasing that next thing is so exhausting. And it also, I'll share with this because I know those calls. I've been blessed to have 6 of them in my career now. And let me share the biggest mistake of all of it is that what happens is people focus on the blips. They're like, oh, I got this thing. I mentored one woman one time who she got on the Today Show, and everyone in her life was like, oh my God, you got on Today Show. You did it. Yes, celebrate victory today. And she's like, that's an appearance. That's a start. She was focused on the mission. So the show was the blip, right? Everyone sees the blip, celebrates the victory, celebrates the blip. But to make something real, you have to choose in your life, okay, am I going to focus on those little blips and that's done, that's completion, next thing, next product, next thing, or am I going to make a blockbuster? That's the thing. The thing about focus too is it's not just about not going on the next thing because it feels terrible, which it does, and going on the next thing too fast because you don't get to celebrate it. It's also, if you just bounce from project to project to project, you never take anything deep. It doesn't form roots. It doesn't become a thing ingrained in people's lives. It's like Apple didn't need to make 4,000 products. It was like, we're gonna make 5 and we're gonna dominate with these 5. It's like, we're gonna stick to the things and spend time on them to cultivate them, to grow them. Books are like that. Yeah, I'm still promoting High Performance Habits. It came out 3.5 years ago. And it's still selling equally as good because I still perpetuate the book and I tell the story in the emails and our Facebook groups and everything. I think it's, if you've got something and it's working, sometimes it's like, let's double down on that. Let's grow that. Let's make that the thing instead of, oh, let's go plant 7 more fields right now. It's like, let's cultivate this field and let's heal this field. Let's be part of it. Let's grow something we're proud of and set roots on something. I feel like we live in a very distracted next society and no one's building roots. So that's why we lack a society that has any significant missions, any significant movements, because no one sits with it and cultivates it. And I think that's important for branding. I think it's important for books. I think it's important for all of you who are trying to do something, get your health right. You don't get to go to the gym one time and be like, oh, I guess I'll try the next thing. It's like, you got to stay on the thing. You got to cultivate the thing.
Yeah. So one of the quotes I was reading this morning, just because I'm sort of a dork like that, this is what I do. Every day, forever, right? Poetry, read quotes, all that stuff. I just love it so much. And anyways, I came across this quote this morning from Oprah, who said, when we focus on what we have, we get more. And when we focus on what we don't have, we never have enough. And I just thought it was so powerful too around this idea of focus. You know what I mean? For this week when I read it this morning, because it is so easy. It is so easy to focus on what we don't have yet or what isn't, all those things.
What we haven't done yet or achieved yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you never achieve enough. You never have enough. You never, right? And someone like her, who from the outside seems to have everything, her whole thing is when you focus on what you have more. And I think that is just such a powerful thing.
She's
because
a great example for that. Yeah. She did a show for 20 years. She didn't do a million things. She did a show for 20 years. That's unbelievable discipline and dedication.
Yeah.
I also think, on topic of focus, I wanted to jump in something today that I think people will resonate with, which was for this idea of focusing on what you have and focusing on what you have achieved, I think one great way to look at it too is sometimes when you're just going really strong and you don't feel the day, you don't feel victory, you don't feel, you know, in alignment, or the things are going, you know, perfectly. I just remind you one great thing. Everyone goes, yeah, I need more focus. And I say, well, what are you focusing on? What is the discipline you are building? And one thing I think that most people don't focus on enough is their enjoyment of life. Like, you have to build in moments throughout the day to feel the day. You have to build in moments throughout the day, even when everything else is in chaos or not perfect, to still experience life and feel the day. You know, so it's like your morning walk, or, you know, Denise and I, we just took our morning walk, and then afterwards I jumped in the ocean and just spent 5 minutes floating like a dumb turtle there, just like, oh, this is great. And just
today,
yeah, even though I have, you know, 400 emails I get personally today that none of my 200 plus team members can answer. So the 400 that come to me every day, and the 78 SMS texts I get every day. So 80 texts a day, 400 emails a day for a decade. I don't wake up in the morning like, oh my God, I got to get to those. I don't go throughout the day. I'm like, oh my God, I'm in lack because I haven't responded to all of those, and I don't have inbox 0. I'm like, okay, what's important? I want to make sure that even though I have tasks, even though I have lots of things to do, am I focused and disciplined throughout the day to enjoy little moments? Sometimes that's like, hey, go pet the cat. Sometimes that's take your walk. Sometimes that's your gym time. That is your lifetime. Sometimes it's your reading with your book and your green tea. Sometimes it's, you know, calling your mama. Sometimes, whatever it is, if you don't build those in, the email, the text, the social media, the distractions from everybody else throwing their mission and their thing at you eats you alive. And all of a sudden you're not in the ocean, or all of a sudden you're not calling your mama, or all of a sudden you're not in the gym. And it's easy to let other things encroach. And so what I wanted to share today was like, hey, make sure that as you're hustling, you're all grit and you're working so hard, please make sure your focus and discipline is also to make sure you build life into each day. Building it all for, unless you're able to have more freedom each day and have more fulfillment each day. What's all the hustle and the grit and all that stuff for? If at some point you're not going to be a point where you enjoy the day more, but what if you could teach yourself now to enjoy the day as if you had what you needed? I think that is what I learned a lot from Taoism is, can I enjoy the day as if I already had everything? Can I enjoy the day as if I already was worth it, as if I already was in that state of bliss? Like if the bank account was full, the kids were all, you know, dressed and clothed and happy, like everybody was happy with you, and you had all sorts of Shangri-La moments in your life, could you not just create that right now? Could you not create that 3 or 4 times throughout the day? Maybe you just visualize, you know, you connecting with source, and you notice that you're full. Like, God's got you. You're good. Like, God made you unique and beautiful and strong and still here and gave you breath this morning. Can you sit with that without thinking my email, or without thinking that promotion? That's what I found, that the high performers I admire, they've figured out how to build that in. And it's inspired me. There was plenty of times in my life I didn't do enough of that. And I was like, oh, there must be a better way. Because going weeks without feeling life, or months without taking a breath, that's not life. Like, why? So I love that Jamie's been talking very openly. She's been doing great this time around, even though she's worked harder than any of us will ever know. I think it's important to see us trying. Okay, yeah. See it trying. We all have lots to go, and we have lots to do, and we built billion-dollar businesses. The question is, can we still find those moments of sanity and joy in life within the moment?
So many things you just said are so powerful, but I think, well, first of all, just going way back, people are like, oh, I lack focus, but what are you focusing on, right? And I think like a lot of people don't even know that answer. They don't even know that answer. I think that's so profound, just that. And then also something you just said that's so powerful is like the idea of scheduling in feeling the day and feeling alive, and enjoying the day. I think that is big. No one thinks to schedule those things in. They only think to schedule in all the things that take them away from from feeling the day, right? And then their whole thing is packed. And one more thing, the idea of, can you live as if everything is, okay? I think that's huge, because if we don't figure out how to do that now, there's those famous words that you accomplish a big thing, you finally get that, but it never changes anything because you take you with you, right? Yeah. Right? You take you with you, no matter what ends up happening, no matter how full your bank account gets, no matter what book you write or what job you get or what victory your kids have or whatever it is, you still take you with you, right? Those famous words. And so getting you right, so important, right? From where we're at right now. I think that's so huge. I think that's really huge.
So huge. And I'll give it a last metaphor and example for people. I've been coaching a lot of CEOs over the last decade of my life. And I worked with one CEO I remember went in, who I learned this, I kind of learned that in corporate America, you know what people fear in corporate America? An empty calendar. They're terrified. If they have a spot on their calendar, they feel guilty, like, oh, I need to fill that with a meeting. And so, yes, I'll take every meeting you throw by me. They feel like they just have to be, they feel like productivity is every block of time scheduled in some meeting with some people. And I was coaching this one executive one time, and we looked at his calendar. It was the first thing I do with the client. I want to see their calendar. I want to see their last 6 months of a calendar. It tells me so much. And it was just, meeting. And I just looked at it. And this is the first day meeting this executive. And I looked at the calendar, I go, you're secretly miserable inside, aren't you? And I don't think anyone had ever said that. And he was like, what? And I said, there's not a moment in here from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. that's not scheduled. And I'm the schedule yourself. I'm the high performance planner guy.
Yeah, you are.
I love scheduling, but it's blocks of time that show clear progress towards the needle moving activities that matter. Most people can wipe out half the meetings in their week with absolutely no impact whatsoever on their performance or their productivity in the work. Half the meetings, half. And so this guy, we had to cut out 90%. And that made the business better. It made him happier. It made his teams happier because you didn't have a grumpy bear there all day. Suddenly it was like, oh, now there's a creative force back in. And so I feel like some of you've scheduled yourself and the kids and the projects and the dreams 24/7, but there's no take a walk at the park. There's no read a book. There's no meditate. There's no gym. There's no like life outside of those things. And there will never be life outside of those things until you build them in. Like everyone says, what should I focus on? I'm like, have you ever focused on creating lots of blocks of free time? I mean, where's the block of free time that you've been focused on building? I just feel like if we're going to focus on anything, let's focus on building a great life, or to the extent that we can. Because yes, we got to make the money and we got to launch the projects and we got to do the work. But could we focus on building a greater lifestyle? No matter what your income is, no matter how young the kids are, no matter how much the business is growing or how many team, could you still just give a few minutes or even hour a week thinking of how to build more goodness into your life? I think that's worth the focus. And I've learned people don't focus on that. They're focused on everything else but building life into life.
This can be your day for personal growth. This can be that day you committed to and you remember and you go, that was the day I got myself a community. I got better coaches. I committed to making my life the absolute best that I could. This is that day. Make today your growth day. Click the button on this page and sign up right now.